Hi, I'm Francois.
I'm Samir. I'm Eric.
This is Payam.
And I am Jacob.
And we're Young the Giant.
And this is In Our Bag.
Amoeba. This is a record with 20 years of groundbreaking music by Air, one of my favorite bands.
That's a much better way of saying greatest hits.
Yeah.
20 years.
Surfing on a Rocket, I think, is the most like, this is like my jam.
Surfing on a rocket. Surfing on a rocket. Surfing on a rocket.
Alone in Kyoto was great. Run is one of my favorites. Venus is one of my favorites. Yeah, there's a lot in here. Cherry Blossom Girl.
I picked up Radiohead, King of Limbs. I really like King of Limbs. It's very textural. There's a lot of stuff going on sonically. A lot of like use of old drum machines, like the Casio keyboard drum machine stuff. It's really cool. Separator is my go-to on this album. I guess it's the last track.
I chose Buena Vista Social Club. I don't know, this record, one, it's a great record to cook to, and it just has a lot of personal sentiment to me. I tried to learn Spanish and still trying to learn Spanish, I guess, but this is kind of what I gravitated towards, to like look up lyrics and, you know, put music and the language together. And I also love the guitar playing, like, you know, classical guitar, but not so like strict and tight. It's kind of like loose, and yeah, it feels like a party when you listen to it. It's always good vibes when you put this guy on.
I actually only got 2 LPs, but one of them is the new Kaytranada album. I'm from Montreal originally, which is where he's from, and he's this like amazing blend of just really heavy-hitting beats with kind of a musicality that isn't often there in this particular style of music. Really great curated features, and the songwriting is amazing. The sounds are all really good.
Full-time killing, bad hole driller, chowder for the kitten, mellow yellow lemon, I'm glowed up. I'm glowed up.
And this record just like looks so freaking cool too. It was like calling at me as I was walking by it, so that was an easy choice.
This is something that I recently stumbled upon, even though it's from like the late 80s. This band called Talk Talk, which I started getting into a lot. These guys, you know, started opening up for Duran Duran, and these 2 albums, Spirit of Eden and then Laughingstock, I guess kind of like Kid A and Amnesiac in terms of like the same tones that they have throughout the 2 albums. Always cool to see that. I got this Songs of Leonard Cohen.
You know she will trust you, for you've touched her perfect body with your mind.
Nick Drake is, you know, one of my favorites. And he talks about Leonard Cohen as this record being kind of the sound that he wanted to get, and if you listen to like Pink Moon and you compare it to this record, it's actually very similar, the quality of recordings.
Sufjan Stevens, Seven Swans.
I saw a sign in the sky. 7 swans, 7 swans, 7 swans.
Listened to a lot of him in high school. Actually, Samir introduced me to Sufjan, and I got a chance to see him this past year, and it was one of the most emotional concerts. Sufjan Stevens, great artist.
I picked Yankee Hotel Foxtrot by Walker.
If I could, you know, I would just hold your hand and understand. I'm the man who loves you.
Walker's been around for such a long time, and you know, they're very critically acclaimed, but they're one of those bands that kind of flies under the radar in a lot of ways. And I think this is just like a really pivotal point in their career. Like they did the real like southern country rock thing for a while, and this is like where the songwriting's here, but it's also sonically it's so interesting, and it's recorded at their like loft, which I believe is in Chicago. And if you ever go to Chicago and walk along the river, you'll see this little hotel/parking structure.
The last 2 that I was talking about. They're kind of like not rhythmic at all. There's nothing you can really dance to. And as a band, we love the backbeat, and Tribe is always a good choice. And if a drummer out there can play the drum beat for Vibrant Thing, I know they're a good drummer. You can play that drum
I
beat.
can play it, yeah.
It's a hard drum
It's
beat.
really hard.
And I love that
Practiced a
tune.
lot.
It's such a vibrant thing, a vibrant thing. Yeah, it's such a vibrant thing, a vibrant thing.
I actually went and specifically was looking for this. It's called David Bowie's Inside. It's based on an exhibit that was put together with a lot of his sort of personal collection of costumes, sketchbooks, and just storyboards, lyrics, all sorts of stuff. I mean, it's perfect. You know, it's exactly what you would expect. Just like weird photography that's fantastic, and like all these little scribblings, and David Bowie wearing a jock strap but still pulling it off so well. I grew up listening to Bowie, so I've never been like so impacted by like a celebrity dying. And I remember like I saw it on Twitter, and I just started crying. That's never happened to me before, but whenever we kind of find ourselves in a rough patch musically as a band, there's kind of always the like, what would Bowie do, which is I think a pretty good beacon for creativity. So yeah, pretty stoked on it.
Cool. I picked Junip. I was actually looking for Jose Gonzalez, who is part of Junip. His like solo stuff is more just classical guitar, whereas Junip's more full band. I really dig his stuff. It's like kind of my go-to road trip music.
It's got a very like nomadic quality to him. It's like you feel like
good
you're
vibes for sure.
going someplace. I picked the late and great David Bowie's Black Star. This is still pretty fresh, Wounds right here, and he put this out the day before he died on his birthday, and wrote his own eulogy. I think it's like honestly, as an artistic staple, is like, I don't know who's done that before.
I'll be free. Ain't that just like me?
I've only really dug into Lazarus honestly on this record, but I'll take it home and really try and dig into the whole thing.
I'm gonna go with Air 20 Years. It's like this new...
Eric just did that.
Did he? Never mind. I'll do Beck. Another artist who has just managed to always change everything up, and people have like amnesia and forget about like an album like this where he's super rhythmic.
Hell yes. Now I'm calling you out. I'm switching my plates.
Please enjoy.
Hell yes. Now I'm cleaning the floor. My beat is correct.
He's just an insane collaborator and a genius.
Yeah, actually, I didn't really listen to a huge amount of Beck before we worked with our producer on the second album, which is JMJ, and he's the bass player for Beck, and that opened it up a little bit for me. And especially as a drummer, Joey Warnker, who's their drummer, is like doing some next level shit at like every bar, and he does it so tastefully. So I'm happy I've gotten more familiar with his music, because it's definitely very inspirational.
I picked up a book called The Wrecking Crew. These guys are a bunch of musicians, studio guys from, I guess, back in kind of like the Motown days and 60s, 70s.
They're the Beach Boys.
Most of the mid-1960s Beach Boys backing tracks didn't feature any of the Beach Boys. It was Brian Wilson's decision to push the music to another level. And to do that, he enlisted the best of LA.
They are the Beach Boys and other artists as well.
The musicians were really the unsung heroes of all those hit records.
When I listen to the record, it is so apparent that these guys were just really so good. And you can see why everybody used them.
They're kind of like another group of musicians in Detroit, and Memphis, and kind of all over. So I wanted to learn more about these guys.
Cool. Yeah. Thank you.
You guys.
Thanks for having us.
He says, I've got you written.